If you guys have ever wondered why there are certain athletes like Isaiah who are incredibly, incredibly strong and can jump super high as a result of a lot of the stuff they've done in the weight room versus other athletes, maybe high jumpers, 1 foot jumpers, the rare 2 foot jumper out there that doesn't really lift at all, maybe only does plyos and can also jump incredibly, incredibly high. Obviously, there's a big discrepancy. You might think to yourself, well, the weight room's not important at all. Obviously, there's these examples of guys who don't do anything and they jump equally as high or close to. Well, we're going to dive into that question today. We're going to start to elaborate on what the purpose of the weight room is, why that happens, and just kind of have a conversation about it. So let's go through some examples that you guys can think of without, we obviously aren't going to like speak poorly about these people, but can you guys think of some people who jump super high but don't have a crazy background in weight training?
T-Dub.
Dom. Oh,
Dom. Dom
Dom.
does now. Dom does now. But
Dom's getting better. Gemma.
oh yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him touch a weight.
Just
Golden
Fly.
Child.
Golden
I
Child.
mean, if we could just list all the old TFP
All the old
guys. that
TFP
works.
guys. Yeah, let's see. Let's stick with the older generations. Did
Dexton.
Oh yeah,
Dexton's
Dexton
actually a good
never
one.
touched a weight. Yeah, ever. What about who's
5'6" guy.
Ty?
5'6"?
No.
Porter?
No.
Oh, Anthony Height?
Anthony Height. And Porter Mayberry is
yeah.
a good example too. He ran distance.
That's crazy.
That was his workout. He would jog.
I'm gonna go with why do you guys think they can jump so high despite never really pushing in the weight room or doing a periodized program? First off, let's go through what their verticals are respectively. T-Dub is probably in the probably assume 50s, right? Golden
Just
Child,
550. Golden Child's probably 48. What, like, right? Is
I
that?
don't know. He's my favorite dunker ever.
I mean,
Yeah,
Anthony Height's 50. Everyone's like, what, 40? That we listed as 48 to 50. So maybe Gemma. Gemma's probably like 45, 46, right?
Nah, Jimmo had probably 48, I would say.
I don't. How tall
Isaiah,
is he?
stop glazing, bro. We know you love Gemma so much, bro.
He
It's
loves
just
glazing.
you love Gemma, dude.
Facts.
He has a Gemma tattoo on his butt cheek.
He's 6'3". Jimmo's 6'3", and I've seen him like.
Yeah,
What was
but go ahead, do that again. Yeah. Okay, so what do we? So they're all. Let's just say for the sake of this, they're 48 plus for the ones that we gave examples of. There's one that I could definitively, or like one specific answer I'm thinking of that's kind of a cop out. So I don't want to get into it too much, but I want to hear what you guys think on why. Actually, I'll just give my ears. I think that their potential is even higher than what you have done, Isaiah. Like, I look at them and they were able to do that without any formal training at all. They just went out and dunked a couple times a week. And to me, that speaks volumes. They don't. And I think they in a sense viewed it as like Austin used to be this way with training, right? Where you felt like training meant that you were less of an athlete.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, like there's pride in being naturally gifted.
Yeah, I used to want to be a freak as much as possible. Like I didn't want to warm up. I wanted to drink as much as possible and still dunk because T-Dub could. I wanted to do all that stuff and it doesn't work. It's very rare if it works, and I'm sure the longevity doesn't stick super. It's not. Yeah, no.
So that's the easiest answer is you are looking at the biggest outliers of all time potentially, and they people like Donovan, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're so good without doing anything. They could literally just dunk once a week and they'll get in the mid. Like I think Donovan, I probably got him to the upper 40s without ever touching a weight. I mean, he did a lot of that early on, and then I fine-tuned it to where he just played around with the training volumes, and that was it. I just more or less took the jumping and periodized just that variable alone. And since he's so resilient, I could do that. So let's go through some of our experiences of if we didn't weight train.
I also want to add
go ahead.
to that there's also no, for those guys, there was no incentive to get better. Because like if you look at professional sports, you get hyper talented guys, and then you combine that with like a lot of practice and training. Specifically, let's say basketball. That's usually in the form of skill work, right? You get a lot of guys that are naturally talented at basketball, and then you add in thousands and thousands of hours of practicing, and you get Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron, that type of talent. Dunking, you don't see that, and dunking is more of a performance. It's a output dictated sport, like track and field. Where in track and field, you can't just get by on pure talent alone. If you want to get a gold medal in the Olympics, you have to be hyper talented. You have to be that genetic outlier and train on top of that. In dunking, it's so much smaller as a sport that all you need to succeed in dunking is to be a genetic outlier. There's
Yeah, just be
no
good enough.
there's no monetary or competitive incentive to train on top of your talent level. But I do think that's changing now. I think if you look at the dunks that are being hit now and compare that to the dunks that were being hit in 2007, 2008, 2009, oh, it's way different. And now you're starting to get, like, in order to be an outlier in social media and to win a contest, to get a sponsorship, to get more views, you have to like, it's starting to be that you have to be talented and you have to
Like, there's
train.
more incentive now to train because
Yeah,
if you're not training, you're gonna get left behind by the guys that
exactly.
are less talented than you.
Exactly. Like, I think what we're gonna see with dunking in, like, 10 years is that you're gonna need to be, a guy like Donovan, where you have like, without training, a vertical that's in the high 40s, and in order to be competitive, I think you're gonna have to be in the 50s, like, in a few years.
Damn,
Like,
that's crazy. That's so true
yeah.
though. Like it makes
Like, I
sense.
think,
Like
bro, in terms of the record for vertical, I think it's probably gonna get to, 52, maybe 53. Like, that's probably gonna be, like,
That's
the
where I was
new
thinking,
upper limit.
53, 54.
And then the level to be competitive is gonna be, like, 49, 50. Like, that's probably what you're
I
gonna see.
very, very much agree with that. Like, I look at Tony, and I think Tony is on the upper echelon of talent. Dude, he high jumped like 6'10" as a 5'8" guy or whatever. That's
Yeah,
insane. And he's run insanely fast. He's long jumped like 26 feet. Like, in terms of track, he's very good for his, especially for his height.
yeah.
Unreal. If he were 6'2" in track, he's probably gonna make a team in one of those events. Maybe. I mean, we can't say for sure, but maybe. And I think about that, and he is currently at 50.5. I think he's just missed 51, and he's had so many, injuries from his track and field career. Like, it's very possible, genetically speaking, I think he's capable of 52 and a half. I think Isaiah, I think you have more guidance with me being there, which makes it a lot easier for you to, like, you have like more in-person benefits. I think I don't know what your genetic potential is. I definitely think 51, 51 and a half is going to happen. Higher than that, I don't know. I think
yeah,
that's where it's like a crapshoot.
yeah.
All
What do you
Isaiah
think?
just heard was challenge. All he heard was
What,
like he
yeah,
got
dude,
competitive. It was like
53.
51.
No, I think
He's
50, I think 51 is right now though. I think you're jumping 51 right now on a
Yeah, I
good.
think so
I think you
too.
yeah, I
test
think so
51.
too.
I think in your lifetime though, it's like anything over that will be just absolutely bonkers. The difference is that your training is more robust, that you have more accessibility to higher quality training than the other guys because
Yeah.
you're my business partner and I talk to you every day. It's not that I don't spend a lot of time on those other guys. It's just that the
There's
nature of
incentive to,
priorities is I'm going to spend more time talking to you about it.
yeah.
And we create content every day. So I think that, like, in terms of talent levels, like, I look at someone like Donovan and I don't know. Like, I have no idea. He's one of the most talented I've ever seen, but if you've read the book that I mentioned to you, Isaiah, what's it called? What is it called? The one Range. Is it
Range.
Range? Is that right? Yeah,
Range
Range.
by David Epstein.
Yo, is this an
Exactly.
ad? Is this an ad, bro?
So
Come
if
on.
you
You
if
guys
you've
gotta
read that
motivate me if you're
book,
doing
they
ads.
go into different types of outliers and how some individuals are responders to training and others are not as responsive to training, but their baseline is way higher. So for example, Austin, I would say this is more like you. Your baseline is way higher. You got to like a 40 some without touching a weight at all. And there's times where you could do nothing and your vertical is insanely high as a result, right? But as soon as you start training, you sometimes have a harder time responding to that training
Yeah.
volume. And I think I don't necessarily think it's black and white. In my opinion, what happens is you adapt over time and build the capacity to handle workloads and adaptations, and then it becomes more predictable. But I think for a lot of those super talented guys, they're not incentivized to go through that, because why am I going to do all this work and maybe not be as good as if I did
Yeah.
nothing? Right?
Me
Like
and Isaiah were
you're
talking about that too. I have like panic attacks every time. I'm like, I'm working my ass off and I
yeah,
suck. It's like I want
exactly.
damage. Like, why
But
am I
like
doing this? I can
Isaiah
just
and
go
I,
jump.
exactly. Isaiah and I are responders to training. Isaiah specifically is probably one of the highest responders I've ever seen. Like,
Mm,
I don't think you're like, I think you jump high without any training, right? I think you went a whole year without lifting, right, Isaiah? And you were jumping
Yeah.
44. So, you jump super high, but your response to training and how predictable it is like 1-to-1. I basically can look at a textbook, see what the textbook says, do it with you, and it'll work.
Yeah.
And I think that's there's not, I mean, there's still problem solving, but it's way easier
It's also,
to get
I
you
don't know,
better.
I think, with me, the upper limit is, like, it's, like, really high. Like, I have a really, really high ceiling.
But
I
only if
think
you
if you were to
train.
look at, like, yeah, like, if you look at, like, a really talented guy, like, let's say, like, Golden Child, Tito, like, those guys, I think if you look at, like, what their basement is, assuming they're healthy and, like, not fat, I think there's like a basement, right, that they have, and then their ceiling is, like, right here, and then I think for me, like, it looks like basement, and then, like, like, I have a really big range.
That's what the
mhm.
book's about. Have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
That's
He
literally
just
what the book's
he's just
about.
doing the paid advertisement. He didn't read it yet. He's just doing the paid ad and he's
So
done.
you should read it.
No,
But I agree.
I
I agree.
mean,
I think that
you know what?
your
Oh,
ceiling, your lifetime genetic ceiling is very, very high,
'Cause,
because
like, bro, like, I think even now, I feel like I'm not even close as far as, like, tapping out, like, everything, like, in terms of the weight room, I feel like I can be way stronger. Health, I feel like I can be way healthier. Even jumping, like, it doesn't feel like I've come close to maxing things out.
yeah.
There's just so many things to improve on, even to this day. Like, I don't know.
what do you
Honestly,
think?
that's how I feel too about myself. Like,
I want to hear
especially
this
seeing
about
you.
both of you guys.
Yeah.
Tell me in what ways. Like, what do
The
you, what's
what
something about you
shifted
think about where
what
you're like,
shifted
damn,
my
I'm
lens
way better?
what shifted my lens on that was, like, my experiences with the belt squat this last month. Like, I feel like I feel like I can get so much stronger in the weight room, and then specifically with health, like, we've improved this much with me making just dumb-ass errors in terms of jumping too much, like, pushing when I shouldn't have pushed, like,
Awesome.
uh
We've actually deciphered that you're the reason that happens, because you go on these trips and then we have to celebrate your going away party by dunking and act like you're dying and you'll never come back.
No, yeah, no. We were talking about this, Austin. We're like, yeah, Austin will be like, we're like, I'm about to leave, and then I'll be like, we gotta do a dunk session. Like,
This
and
happens
then
every time. It happens
and
like
then
once a year.
we act like we're never gonna see you ever again. Like, we're like, this is the last dunk session. Like, we have to go out with a bang.
Oh
Think
my
about when you left
god.
for Jersey the first time, Austin. What
Yeah,
did
the
we do?
first time that was true. That was
And
happening.
then
I
you
didn't know
came
when I
down
was
and
gonna come back
visited.
right away. Yeah. And then but Isaiah wanted to do double East Bay. He was on a deload. That had nothing. I wasn't dunking, I was lifting. You guys actually derailed me because I was going to lift. So yeah, I wasn't even gonna dunk that week, remember?
I
I
believe
started
you
my new
wanted to dunk
cycle.
on Wednesday and
I
Wednesday, so
did.
you could fit in 2 dunk sessions.
Well, I did originally, and then when we dunked, I didn't dunk that well, and I was like, "Oh, I want to do a full cycle. I want to start my cycle over." And I was ready to lift, and I was like, "So you want to dunk today?" And I'm like, "All right, fine."
No,
I'm like,
I'm not saying it's just one person here. It's definitely a little bit of a joint
yeah,
effort.
I think
But
I think I get thrown
you
under like
plant
the
the
actual
seed, Isaiah
bus. Like,
waters it. You plant the seed and Isaiah waters it. He nurtures that seed and he builds it into a big, strong tree that there's no way you're chopping it down.
I just want to hoop with my friends, and we haven't been able to hoop. And,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to dunk.
Unfortunately for you guys, you're in the upper echelon of ability, and hooping is a risk, a genuine risk. That's
It's
like
so much
dude, that's like
fun.
Tyreek Hill. That's like Tyreek Hill being like, I just want to hoop. And he's in the middle of his fucking NFL season. And he's like, I just want to hoop with my friends. I just want to hoop with my friends. Well, sorry, Tyreek. You're getting paid $20 million a year to not. Not saying you guys are getting paid $20 million, but
Dude,
like,
I was about to say, I will not
You
hoop for 20 mil a year. Are you kidding me? Dude, I will do
when I
nothing
was
but lay on a beanbag.
when I was in
I'll
high
just
school,
be
like
in it.
middle of high school basketball season, it would be game day. Like I have a game at 7, and I would go to the park and like play with David. Like we'd play like 5-on-5 at the park, 2 hours before an actual basketball game.
that's what I'm talking about. That
Well,
is
but
what I'm talking
that's
about.
that's the thing is like me too. In high school, I would have a track meet and I would run to my friend Keith's house and I would just low rim dunk real quick, drive to like Chipotle, pick up Chipotle, and just get to my meet and high jump like with a bowl of Chipotle by the thing. Like we both have bad habits. It's like, all right, we're at NA, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, some kind of meeting, right? You don't put two people together recovering. We're recovering. We're trying to learn. You can't.
Yeah,
It brings
it's
out bad
bad.
habits.
It's
So what am I,
bad.
your sponsor?
Even today,
Yes,
bro,
your papa, your Papa John, man.
John, this is something I fight every day, and I don't tell you. Like, I woke up today and I was like, I could convince John to dunk today if I try really hard. And like, I thought about it and I was like, no. I
Bro.
fight that demon every day.
It is
Tomorrow.
easier by myself here. Like when I'm here training, like I'm gonna go train, I have a basket, like I don't there is something about to another person with me that has I know he has
Bro,
it in him. I know the demon's there. Like I know
even
he
right
wants to let it
now,
loose,
even right
you
now,
know?
my heart is fluttering. Like, I'm thinking about,
No,
like,
we're not
dunking today,
dunking
and my
today.
heart is just like,
Shut it down, Isaiah. We have other things we need to do today that are more important to me.
That's so fun.
But
I did
you're
want
not
to
even
say
supposed to
something
dunk
about
this cycle,
training real
Isaiah.
quick.
That's the funniest part.
What'd you say?
Isaiah's technically not even supposed to dunk this cycle. That's the funniest part.
yeah.
What? Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah, I'm
chilling. If
supposed
I
to
don't
do
feel like dunking, I'm not.
technically, I should do a big lift tomorrow. That's what I should do.
You could,
I'm doing my big lift
yeah.
today and then I'm doing something elastic tomorrow.
Well,
I'm pro. Just kidding.
regardless, let's get back to this training and dunking thing. So I feel like we've pretty well covered that if you want to get to this upper echelon, you've got to be willing to tap into every potential opportunity to get better. And if you're willing to just coast by, you can still be great. I know, I saw that thumbs up. You can still be great if you're willing to coast. But if
Wait,
you
that's a good
want
example
to,
right here.
if
Isaiah
you
not coasting, me coasting. You can see the difference. There you go.
but if you guys want to achieve your genuine genetic capacity or ability, your genetic ceiling, then you need to be willing to do everything to get there without, putting it on
I was
steroids in your system.
I was watching a video about like basically like achieving your goals and stuff. And it was saying that for everything you want to achieve, there is a sacrifice. Like no matter what. If there is
A
something
goat
you
or a
want,
chicken.
there's a give and take for every single thing. Let's say buying a car. If you want to buy a car, it's gonna take money. Let's say it's you want to do really well in school. If you want to do really well in school, you have to study, which is gonna take time away from other stuff. And jumping high, like what literally the example we're talking about right now, if I want to jump higher, I'm in a different spot than most people. I'm not 16, 15 years old anymore. If I want to jump higher, the takeaway is the dunk sessions. Like I want to dunk every day. Like you guys, you probably do understand. If you're watching this.
I don't.
I wake up every day. Dunking is the thing I love the most to do. Like if I could do it all day every day, I would do it all day every day. But it's gonna take away from the training. That's gonna make me jump higher. So I wake up and literally choose not to dunk every day because I would rather jump high later and improve my vertical.
The bias of me being old just gives me such a different lens because I'm like, damn, dude, like I did these ISO eccentric waves the other day and I'm so damn sore. Like my tendon's still a little bit sore. And I'm like, I can't fathom waking up this
Dunk.
morning and being like, time to go dunk. I'd be like,
Bro, this
absolutely
training
not.
cycle is different though. There's a couple of variables that are affecting that. One, it's the healthiest I've felt in a long time.
You always feel really healthy when you do
And
isometric, so
and
feel like
two, well, not even ISOs because I'm only like 2 days in, but just like
mm,
managing my jump volume really well and all that stuff and like all the rehab. I just feel super healthy. And then two, ISOs, I was telling John, like neurally, like I always like it like primes me. Like I just feel really wired all the time now.
He's
I
ready.
feel like that just from not
His
drinking
body's
and
ready.
waking up as a normal human being. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. I'm like, well, oh, I was gonna say something too about like me and Isaiah started training with John around the same time. And what is the biggest difference between me and Isaiah?
You're asking
Like,
me?
no, like, I mean, think about it. Like, we were training hard, whatever, but I was partying. I
No,
was
I was
out
gonna
every
say, I
night.
was like,
I
do
was
you want
being
me to answer this
crazy.
or do you wanna
No, I know, but it's, like, interesting because you really do have to focus on all the little things. Like, Isaiah and I got the same resources at the same time. I'm more genetically gifted than most. Like, I can get really fat and still jump 40 inches if I want. Um, like, but it's crazy to see how different it is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm struggling to get back all the time and this and that, whereas Isaiah's just been like,
And it
and I'm
compounds. It
yeah,
it
yeah,
reminds
where
me a
yeah.
lot of, like, investing, when it comes to investing money, because like,
Mhm.
you guys have probably seen, it's like if you invest $100 a month from the age of, like, 21 to 60, like, you're gonna be a millionaire. But the thing is, when you're 21, after a year, you're gonna have $1,000 in that bank account. But and then year 2, you might have $2,200 in the bank account, and you don't see the benefit of those things. And that's really similar. But by year 10, it's like 200 grand. Year 20, it's 500 grand, and then year
Yeah.
30, it's a million. And dunking is the same way. It's like if you don't drink and you don't overjump in a session and all that stuff, you might not see the benefit in that first month or that first year. But then, like, if you compound that, and it happens in a shorter time frame when it comes to jumping, but if you multiply those good decisions by even a year, it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. And then now you combine, if you do 2 years, 3 years in a row, and you start getting like the results I'm getting right now, but you don't notice it. Like, you don't notice it at first. And even cycle to cycle, like, a lot of guys will do one cycle and they're expecting like crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I would say the actual time frame for it is like 6 months. Like,
I
mhm.
think it's
combine
I mean,
6 months of good decisions and working out every day, and you generally
actually,
see
that's
a big
I
difference.
agree with that. I agree with that.
that
6 months, I
that's
agree with that.
so that's like 2022 when I stopped, boom. The only thing I didn't do right was train as hard as I am right now. Then 2019, I 6 months I was training, like, you know what I mean? I was doing demo, I was doing all those things, whatever. I was super healthy though, and I was training. Once again, I peaked. But now it's like I get in the last 2 years, I think because I've been so result driven instead of goal driven, it's been 3 months on really pissed off eating and drinking because nothing matters and I don't see the results of my fruits of my labor. And then it's like, okay, time to get back. And it's like this constant whatever.
I mean, and it's
Whereas
gonna
like,
be different for everyone, like, the
of course,
adaptation timelines are gonna be different, you know? It's like what I was saying earlier, Austin, I think you need really relatively long periods, kind of similar to me, before you really start to reap the benefits. Like someone was commenting about why I wasn't jumping super high, or they were asking me in the comments either on Instagram or YouTube. And it was something like, hey, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I see you doing all this stuff and you're not jumping higher. And I explained to them, like, well, first off, I'm trying to get back to a 43-inch vertical. That's very hard to do. Second off, I took off 6 months where I detrained a quality that is very sensitive. And now in the last 6 months, I've gained 6 inches of vertical. If you think about it, where I started this progression at after dunk camp, like
mm,
I dunked one time on 10 feet off the dribble, and it took me like 30 tries to make one lob at dunk camp. So after that, I got my knee healthy. That took like 2 months because I destroyed myself at dunk camp, right? Then I got that one dunk for my 31st birthday, did a bunch of outdoor sessions just to get back to jumping somewhat regularly without knee pain. Then I started training and I hit 2 full months. And then now I'm on that third month, and now I'm doing cuff dunks.
mhm,
Like two, I think the last session I had, that the one session where I made two of them and punched them. And then now the last session that I had, where I mean, you guys came in a little bit later, Isaiah, when you hit 360 behind between. I probably made like, I don't know, 15 plus dunks or whatever.
oh,
Like,
sick.
Yeah.
yeah, like I was,
I mean, you punched
Have
someone
no
right in there.
reference of people don't have a reference point of progress when you have a high training age. Just how you have those genetic freaks that have, the really high basements and then ceilings wherever their ceiling is at. People look at those genetic freaks, they're never thinking, why isn't he improving? They're just looking at the dunks. They're like, oh,
oh,
he's
yeah.
crazy. But just how there's genetic freaks that have a basement that's up here, there's guys that are below average genetics. and their basements are going to be in a completely different spot. Their ceiling might be way below the genetic freak's basement, right? And when you see a guy like that dunking, usually like let's say for you, John, like there might be a point in training, like if you're really fatigued, or let's say you're super detrained, where you might not be able to dunk a basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. That
And
happens a
then
lot.
your ceiling, right? If you have you have a high training age, when you're training super dialed in,
Like
you
everything is
might be able to
perfect.
windmill. You might be able to
Yeah.
windmill. Maybe East Bay if you have like really good technique. That's your outlier day. Then you compare that to someone like me. Like I hit 50.5 in 2022. It's 2025. I might, if all the cards fall right, like I might hit that 50.5 again. If it's super, super outlier, like it might be 51. But what people don't see is like it's a plateau. Like you have to fight for those inches. And just because I'm at 50.5, I'm near my ceiling. John's ceiling might be 42, and he might be touching that, a couple times a year. But I don't know. It pisses me off because people don't get it, and they just see like people don't understand
It's like
people
comparing
will
apples
talk
to
about
oranges.
genetics. People will talk about genetics, about how jump training is all genetics and all that stuff. But then they like seem to forget about it. Like it's like selective, like
It's
when
yeah,
talking about
it's like, "Oh, I don't have to do anything because it's all genetics, so if I'm not gonna be the best, I won't." What they don't realize is it's highly modifiable, right?
yeah,
Like, my the variance in my jumping is massive. It's huge. The variance in my jumping is ridiculous. There's days, and I've admittedly always said this, there's days where I will get my head near the rim, like Isaiah said. I might have a day or 3 each year where I'm jumping 42, 43. And
yeah,
then, there's going to be, but most of the sessions, especially when I'm training, because here's the thing too, when I'm training hard, the likelihood I have 2 to 3 good days a year goes up. When I'm not training hard, the likelihood I have 2 to 3 good days a year goes down. Like great, I'll
yeah,
say best day ever goes down. Here's the thing though, the likelihood I can't dunk the majority of those sessions goes up in the former versus the latter,
yep,
meaning the likelihood that I suck most of the year to jump extremely high 3 times is very high. And I
yep,
don't think people realize that. Like I tried to explain that to Steven early on, Steven Selly, because I was like, dude, you don't understand. Like, it's not this permanent adaptation that is there forever. It's not like laying brick
yep,
by brick. It is a fluid
Mhm.
it is fluid. It's not like you hit a 42 and now you have a 42. It's or you hit a 50 and you have a 50. No, you're going to go in and you're going to jump 43 probably for like the next 3 or 4 months or 44 because like you are talking about the most perfect situation, perfect storm. Same thing with the 100-meter dash. Guys, just because Usain Bolt ran a 958, how many other times did you run 958? Zero. You didn't run 958 ever again. And just getting back to that would have been a massive achievement. And people don't realize that.
yeah,
Like he was probably most of the year running in the low tens or high nines during heavy training periods. He's probably running like 10-3, and you'll see that sometimes guys will come out early in the season and they suck. And that's okay. That's not the point. You know what I mean? The point was to get the competition in, et cetera, et cetera. Dunking is the same exact way. If you suck for most of the year, I'm not saying you want to have that happen necessarily because there's other implications to it. But odds are, if you're worse for a little bit, it means your likelihood of having your 3 best days ever across the year are a lot higher. That's why I'm not dunking as frequently because
yeah.
I don't care about. I don't really care about those days where I'm at 36 or whatever. Like I want 3 days
I
where
feel
I'm at
that way
43.
too.
Yeah.
So
Bro, especially as you get older. If you're an older athlete and you have a high training age, um training is basically about trying to maintain, like you're trying to slow the decline, essentially.
yep,
Like you can't the
it
guys
feels
that
like you want to
improve
get back.
later on, like because we've coached a lot of guys that uh PR the verticals in their 40s. Those are guys that have a low training age. And then
Mhm.
the other subset of the older training group is the guy that, dunked when they were 18, 19, 20. Maybe let training get off the wayside, and then we can retrain them again to get to that point and maybe surpass their previous best. But if you've been training every day since you were freaking a teen and now you're in your mid 30s, you're just trying to slow the Grim Reaper, baby.
Or what
You're
you're
just
trying
trying
to
to
do is just, or what you're trying to do is just maybe roll the dice, and once a year you get a half-inch PR. Maybe,
Yeah.
or you get within half an inch of your all-time best. Like, that's really where I'm at now. It's like, dude, I don't care. Like, I'm more than happy with what my best ever was. You know,
Yeah.
it's just that I want to be able to do it again, even if it's once a
Yeah.
year, and be like, hey, I'm not washed. And at this point, you know, as a 1-foot jumper in his 30s, dude, how many 1-foot jumpers do you see in their 30s
You
that are
remind me of like an
not
old
genetic
NASCAR
freaks, that are
driver.
not genetic freaks? Like, how many 1-foot jumpers in their 30s? Oftentimes they're hurt. Like, they've had something insanely bad happen, or they have a lot of issues still. And, you know, and even then, how many of those jumpers in their 30s are jumping as close to their all-time best as ever, right? It's just very unlikely that that's going to happen, especially someone that has a big training age. It's just hard to do, right? And I'm not making excuses. It's just explaining that I'm okay with that, and that's normal. We should normalize that expectation.
That's like, you know, our shirts, they say I'm trying to jump higher. It's like, I'm trying to jump higher. That doesn't mean I'm going to jump higher, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what, like, if I could put 2 more sentences, it's like, I'm trying to jump higher.
And I
Like,
might
when you
not.
see me do anything, if you see me have a dunk session, if you see me in the weight room, if you see me doing ISOs, if you see me not drinking, right? Like, all those things, it's because I'm trying to jump higher, subline, but I might not subline, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay.
Well, I mean, that's how it is with most things in life. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what makes it enjoyable, is the process. And it's the same thing I can imagine if you're owning an exotic car, or you have a love for racing, right? You're trying to be the fastest car, and that's part of that, means repairing it. That means investing your money into it. But your radiator might blow up, and you might not be able to race at all.
Yeah.
But that's part of the
That's like,
enjoyment.
we were at the drag strip the other day, and there's like little categories that they have. So, like, the first like, they have like motorcycles, they have mopeds, and the first people that went out and raced were like the big dogs. Like, they were like all 8-second cars or 7-second cars in the quarter mile. And the failure rate, if you remember, John, it was like
Insane.
1 in 3 cars, something bad happened. Like, one car went out, freaking just oil, just all in the racetrack. Another car would go down, freaking transmission. You hear it pop, and then they'd slow down. And it was legit. Like, every other race, something like that would happen. But why was it happening in the big dogs? It's because they were pushing. Those were the guys that were pushing the limits to the absolute max. But if you were to ask them, their point of view is probably the same as us in training. It's like, their shirt says, I'm trying to go faster, but I might not. And that's okay.
And that's okay. Like, it's about the process, and that's really what it comes down to. Is, yeah, you're gonna blow up your engine or transmission or your radiator, coolant leak or whatever, right? And guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna take it back to the garage, you're gonna fix it, and you're gonna get back out there, and you're gonna try again. And
My
that's
radiator
the whole
blows all the
sport.
time, bro.
What's that?
My radiator. It could be my liver. Like, I don't know what the equivalent to a human being is, but that thing's
That is so funny. Oh goodness. Well, I feel like this is a very good place to stop. We got a lot into that deep dive question of, why does this happen, and what's the point? And I think we did a pretty good job summing it up. If you want to get to your absolute best, your genetic ceiling, truly your genetic ceiling, you need to tap into every possible means of doing so. And that doesn't mean that you're always going to be your best. Part of that means you're probably not always going to be your best. It means you're going to have valleys, you're going to have troughs, you're going to have peaks inevitably. But if you keep trying and you stick to the process, I guarantee you're going to be better than you ever thought possible. And that's always been my goal with the training. My goal has always been to deliver the utmost effective, safe, and beneficial training that I possibly could to my athletes, to make them the best product possible, even if it means that they're going to suffer in the gym for an hour and a half every day. This wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be rainbows and flowers. It was meant to be effective and
I
safe.
love
And
rainbows. I love flowers. I love
yeah,
rainbows.
Austin, if I do find that secret pill that increases your vertical 6 inches, I immediately will offer it to you for $10,000.
Thank you.
I don't know if I would take it.
Bro, I
Let's
would
do
take
that as
it
the
just.
prompt. Let's do that as the prompt for our next podcast.
Perfect.
I would
Perfect.
I would take it just to show up at LA Fitness. I would take it. I would ask John not to tell anyone, and then I would just start dunking just to see Isaiah go like that. I'd be really excited. Like I live for Isaiah's reactions. Like I just
I
get
love it.
excited.
Well, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Merry Christmas. I hope you guys had a great holiday, and the New Year's coming up. So happy New Year. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Ciao.
Perfect
Au
time to sign up for
revoir.
THP. New Year's resolution jump higher.